Welcome to podcast Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru.
Yeah,
podcast episode. What is it, Chris? Guess, and then let's get into your random musing.
267.
Cheers, by the way.
267.
267. Very good.
What is it?
It's not 267, but very good. It's 262.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
You've been slacking. And the last one we did together was 260.
last week was incredible.
We did 260.
Yeah, last week was an incredibly busy week, and that leads us into the audiobook topic.
Yeah, random musings. May have to do the book over.
Well, I think worst case scenario, we have to do the book over. I think he's okay, because it sounds like settings that he can mix into it.
What he said. What he thinks.
Right.
Until he gets home, he doesn't know for sure.
And who knows what Amazon thinks.
Yeah.
They're the ones that matter. So I am not looking forward to rereading this book.
But it was only like 6 chapters that were affected. So we only have to reread 6 of how many chapters? 9?
We don't know which 6, though. That's
it
says.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just hope for that not happening. Busy though.
So I want commitment, recorded commitment. You would redo it if you had to.
No.
But you made promises to people that there would be an audiobook.
It's gonna be read by Chris Auber. I didn't say I'm gonna narrate it.
This is true. You just said there would be.
If Patrick screwed it up, he's gonna read it, and then you and I will just go off script. Seriously.
Okay.
And I think that would be a fair punishment too.
Hopefully Patrick's listening and Patrick agrees to this.
He doesn't listen, but he would agree. I think he would.
Yeah, okay.
Just pay him a little extra. Here, narrate the book. We'll go off script. I'll say, thank you, Patrick. Let's stop here. Chris, what do you think? And then we'll just continue.
You do realize it would take just as long to do it that way.
Yeah,
maybe
but
even longer.
Less work. You don't understand how challenging that was for me.
Sure, it was challenging for me too, especially when you kept feeding me beer. Yeah.
Enjoy. This is only 2.5 grams of carbs. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really good one. All right, so I had a quick question before we get into topics. It's about research, right? Mm-hmm. ConMed logs. Concomitant? How do you pronounce it?
I just say ConMed. Concomitant.
When should the PI sign this log?
At the end.
I call it concomitant.
At the end.
At the end is the correct answer.
I always say ConMed, so I don't even honestly know at this point.
At the end is the correct answer, but I also think at screening and at the end of the patient being in the study. And the reason why I say at screening is because medications inclusion-exclusion criteria very important for the PIs to make sure that there's no safety issues with medications.
Well, let's see what Google says. Oops, crap.
Put it to the mic.
I am, but then I deleted it. There we go.
Concomitant.
Concomitant. Okay. Very good.
One more time.
Concomitant.
There you go.
Okay, good. Doing a podcast will call back. Well, I just sent the CRO proposal, and they're calling me already. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, could be good. Or bad.
This was the doctor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, ConMed log, the end is correct. But I also think, and again, besides you have to follow your SOP, I think it would be wise for the PI to review it after screening. In my opinion. This is something I gathered as I was monitoring, not as a side owner.
Now, if you wanted to go that route, I would think, because it says typically at the bottom of the log, right, where the signature is applied, it typically says something about end of study, right? So I think if I were going to do it that way, in a column, I would just have them initial and date the time it was reviewed.
That they reviewed it, yeah.
Right.
Because it's very important for safety issues. You don't want someone being randomized who's taking a contraindicated medication. So I just wanted to get your take on that. But that's pretty much it. Now, I have I guess the topic today is about site ownership, training your site, different things like that. What do you think as far as new site owners? As we talked to a few today, they they tend to overthink things a lot, right? Like they tend to overcomplicate. We see this all the time with
Well, that's
potential site owners.
but that's because they how's the expression go? They know they don't know things, right?
Right.
So they have more questions than are necessary, right? Because they don't know what they don't know, right? So they do overcomplicate things because they're asking a lot of questions to see what the appropriate answer to this is. And you may need to know this, but it's not something you need to know now, or you'll learn it throughout the course of business, right? It's not something that needs to be done now. It usually is what these questions revolve around that are unimportant, right?
Yeah.
And again, it just gets back to they don't know what they don't know.
Okay, so particularly as it pertains to insurance and how much to pay the PI and can they lock the PI into an agreement, like all that stuff, you're just wasting time.
Well, knowing what to pay the PI, I would disagree with you. I think you need to know what. If you're completely research naive and you have no clue what you're paying the PI, you have to ask, right? Well, what's fair to pay this person?
Right.
That I understand, but yeah, the other stuff is not important.
Okay.
Right, and it's not even possible. Can I lock the PI? Can I make him a slave? No, you can't.
Yeah, these people were trying to find a way, like, hey, what contract do you have that's ironclad that's going to keep our PI forever and not allow the PI to be working for anyone else?
Right.
It is essentially what they're getting at, and you're wasting a lot of energy focusing on these kind of issues. Like, you need to always figure out when it comes to paying the PI, what do they want, right? Because it doesn't matter what you want, it matters what they want. And then you have to see, okay, does that make sense for you?
Sure.
It doesn't matter what you want. You can think about that for hours. What I'm going to offer the PI. If they don't want that, then you just wasted hours thinking of a plan that's going to be rejected in a second.
Agreed, but here's the argument, right?
And we see this all the time.
Agreed, and here's the argument, right? So if you have no idea what fair is, right, depending on the circumstances, if you have no idea what fair is, the PI says, I want this, you're, okay, I guess that's fair, here, and they're asking for 80%, right? Or $1,000 an hour, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you know what fair is, then you would have to have a conversation and say, well, that's a little bit outside of fair. Fair is typically this. So you can have a conversation. If they're still unwilling to compromise, well, then you have to, like you're saying, make a decision. Do I want to go with this person when they're just way over fair? Or is it time to find somebody else?
Right. And so let's get onto that topic, right? Always look for new PIs. We
Sure.
talk about this all the time. Why should they do this? Because the natural tendency for all human beings is to relax when they don't have to work. And so you may be thinking, I have a PI. Now it's time to get studies, which you're right. But why should they never stop looking for PIs?
Well, there's multiple reasons, right? One, maybe you're offered a study that your PI can't do or doesn't want to do or doesn't have a patient population for. And if you had another PI, you could take on this trial for any one of those reasons, right? Maybe they qualify or whatnot. Then maybe your current PI is leaving you, right? So you got to have a replacement then for all studies, new ones and existing.
And maybe you're doing so good that they see this and they're like, hey, why do I need Chris? I can do this on my own.
Exactly. They're leaving you, so you need to replace that PI.
All right. So there's tons of potential pitfalls there by relying on just one PI, and you don't ever want to have somebody else have more leverage than you in any business deal, right? And when you're an experienced site owner, or at least you're going to put yourself out there that you're a research specialist, right?
Yep.
You're putting yourself out there. You're a research specialist. You're someone who is a clinical research professional. The leverage, even if it's not real, what the perception that you're giving off is that your leverage is you are introducing a brand new business model to the PI who's research naive. So you have a lot of leverage. As soon as they start learning more and more about the process, you lose that leverage.
Oh, absolutely.
You lose it. This is why, and this is another reason why I think for site owners, for brand new site owners, you should only go after inexperienced PIs. And what's the first thing every potential client comes to us with? But my PI doesn't have experience. And we tell them that's actually better. What do you think? It's okay to disagree, Chris.
Well,
only on this show, not in real life. You can't disagree.
You know my disagreements.
In real life, only on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, sure, that's not true
this
at all.
This is your safe space.
Yeah, right. But you know the disagreements, right? It's a little bit more difficult to get somebody a study with no experience, especially phase 2 and 3.
What would you rather have, though? An experienced PI who knows what they're doing and who knows why they're even wanting to work with you in that case? There's red flags there, right?
Sure.
Unless it's just they don't have the time, which you do get those guys and gals.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have the time, so Dan, you run the studies, and I'll do what you tell me to do.
You run the show, I'll do my PI obligations, I'll fulfill that.
Yeah, with a reasonable amount of effort on my end.
Right. Which is not a lot for a PI.
Right, and that's usually the conversation they have. But you run the risk, again, especially if you're starting out, I want to have leverage on my side.
Yeah, sure. And if in a perfect world, you'd always have the leverage. Unfortunately, that's not always the case.
It's not always the case, but you got to work to make that the case.
Sure.
That means you got to do different things when the situation arises. And when your PIs start getting experience, there's no way around it. If you, even a research naive PI, if you start getting them studies, they're going to start building experience. You're losing leverage. What do? You continue to milk that and hope that it stays okay forever. You work on improving your relationship, maybe paying them more, do whatever you can, maybe make them an equity partner, but also go find new PIs, because what if they get hit by a bus or
Sure.
I mean, this goes beyond just
little severe
them acquiring knowledge,
but going elsewhere, leaving,
retiring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's going to happen. It may not happen with certain PIs, but eventually, if you're in this business long enough, your PI is leaving you.
Eventually, right?
Yeah.
Unless you lock them in as equity partner.
Yeah.
And even then.
I mean, there's other ways too. You can marry them. Partnership, literal marriage.
How many PIs are you going to marry?
None, but we know some PIs that are married.
Right.
To the site owner.
Right. Husband and wife team would be good.
Sure. And partnership, other business ventures, right, in which you're combined, you have equal share of. Usually that locks them in pretty good.
So speaking of the PIs, we talked to a couple people today. None of them are PIs that I can think of, but we spoke about their PIs. One of them has some kind of technology that they want to leverage for their business. One of them wants to turn their business into an SMO, site management organization. But it starts with, I really think the foundation is having that site set up, right? Like, do the site. It's the easiest entryway to do anything bigger in the industry.
Oh, sure.
Even like the doctor we're going to call right after this podcast, who's creating she's creating a drug company, right?
Yeah.
She didn't just wake up from private practice one day and say, hey, I've got a great idea.
Well, she may have, though.
Yeah, but so she may have, but she took the steps. Okay, what do I have to do? I have to do clinical research. Okay, what is that? Okay, I got to start a site. What is that? Okay, let's build that site. All right, now what does a study involve? A protocol? Okay, we need to create one of the, piece by piece, breaking things down.
Yeah, the one you're referencing, though, is in a little different scenario than most others, right? In the sense that...
Yeah, because she's done all the work already.
No, I don't mean that person. I mean the one we were speaking to today.
Oh.
In which they have multiple clinics they already own, right? They're already kind of set up to be an SMO, right? Yep. It's already set up that way.
So what do they need to do?
Well, again, I think it's easiest still to set up one site first, right? Get a study there. Then make a few errors there, see what the mistakes are, how you want to move forward from there. I don't see why you'd want to start 4 at the same time and make a bunch of errors.
Biggest mistake you can do if you don't know what you're doing to not know what you're doing at multiple places.
Yeah, it just
At the
multiplies
same
the
time.
factor of difficulty.
And another question from someone from our CRA Academy, and the parallels between starting a site, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a PI, if you're somebody that wants to build something bigger, or just want to build like a bigger site that's sustainable, the parallels between that mentality and the mentality of just getting in the industry as an employee, there's a lot of parallels there. Like from people that join our CRA Academy, they're very ambitious. They want to be CRAs. They want to be senior CRAs with oncology experience. And what I'm telling them is it doesn't just happen. You start, more than likely, the best bet. All that background noise is Chris Sauber on
Sorry,
the podcast.
everybody.
We have video proof too. You start, the best place to start is at the site level.
Sure.
Even for them,
Sure.
for employees. Just like it is for entrepreneurs or PIs or anyone who has ambitions to build any kind of business in clinical research. Okay? Same thing with the people that are trying to become senior CRAs. Yeah, you can go be an in-house CRA somewhere. You can be a trial master file specialist. There's other places you can get in. But the point is, the parallels are, the site level provides tremendous opportunities for that. And another parallel is, it doesn't just happen right away. You have to start somewhere else.
Sure.
Take what you want, deconstruct it, build yourself a roadmap. I had a question from somebody who wants to join our CRA Academy and wants to know how likely is it that they're going to be a CRA. And I said, highly unlikely, even with our class, immediately. What is likely, more than likely, is 50% of our graduates get a job in the industry in some capacity, in clinical research.
Very true.
More often than not, that's as a study coordinator, a trial master file specialist, a clinical trial assistant, something in clinical research. Even those are not entry-level positions anymore.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've had a few that have been able to successfully enter as a CRA.
There's always people that can do things, but it's the exception, not the rule.
Agreed. Definitely not the rule. The rule is you have to, it's like the expression goes, right? Learn to walk or learn to crawl before you walk.
Right.
Same concept.
Same concept.
Right. You have to start at the bottom or close to the bottom, usually, before you can take on some sort of expert role.
Yeah, most people have big ambitions, whether it's on the business side or on the employee side. And what we're saying is deconstruct it. And in order to deconstruct something into smaller parts, you have to educate yourself on the industry. So you can start by buying our book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research. It's actually fantastic. We deconstructed everything for you already.
Very good segue, yes.
I have to win a bet, so buy that book. The audiobook may be coming out soon.
Or it may not be.
It will be. It will not be narrated. May not be narrated.
See, there you're guaranteeing again it's coming out.
It's going to come out.
Oh, okay. Just may not be
I'm
narrated
just
by
not
you.
rereading it, but I will go off script all day long.
Hey, I read about a third of that book.
Yeah, well, if we have to do it again, you'll have to read 2/3 of it.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to happen.
And the other 1/3 is probably going to be Patrick.
I'll put a third each.
No. If Patrick is the one who screwed it up, he should actually read the whole thing, and we go off script.
And he doesn't get paid.
No, he already got paid.
No, exactly, and he doesn't get paid.
No, we'd pay him again. I'd pay him like something else.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, what do you think about deconstructing?
And I was kidding. I would expect to pay him too.
That's right, Chris. Be a generous person.
What do I think about what?
Deconstructing a bigger task. Like, we would have never been able to build a CRO ever.
Well, we're still in the process of that.
And it's still hard.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for having sites. And we would have never been able to have
absolutely.
sites if we would have never been coordinators first. Like, everything breaks down into smaller components.
But you could do all of those things without taking the first step that we took, right? There's other first steps you can take.
Right.
So it just depends on where you enter, right?
That's right.
I mean, maybe somebody wants to be a site owner, and they want to know a little bit about the industry before they take on that role. You don't have to be a coordinator. You can go be a site director. You can go be a recruiter. Whatever it takes to learn what you feel comfortable with and what you feel would help you achieve your end goal, that's what you take on.
Mm-hmm. And for doctors, we've never been in a situation, and I'm actually glad we're going to San Diego next week for a big gastro conference where we're starting to get into some of that stuff with the CRO. Because that particular specialty is blowing up, and we're going to get into why later in future episodes. But there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneurial minded physician, while at the same time we've never had less or fewer entrepreneurial minded physicians coming out of med school.
I was just going to say most are not.
Exactly. But that means that's even better for the ones that are.
Oh, absolutely.
That's even better. So if you are a physician listening, it's never been a better time for you to get into clinical research. First of all, we're moving away from, mass patients, seeing patients at scale. It's slowly headed more towards individualized medicine. And clinical research is going to play a crucial part in that. Individualized medicine, boutique physicians. Of course, you're always going to have the hospitalists and the big practices like Dignity Health that just buy everybody out. There's going to be those people. But if you're not one of those, if you're not a cog in a wheel and you want to be the wheel, there's never been a better time. And clinical research is the foundation, in my opinion, for that. And then if you come up with good ideas based on science there's a lot of doctors out there that are nerds that geek out about science and different things they're discovering, right? There's never been a better time to come out with an idea, and if you have the foundation to test these things, right?
Yep.
You can now build, and you get a partner with a CRO, or maybe you can be the CRO, it doesn't matter. We would love for you to partner with us, but you can do it yourself. You can start your own medical company in addition to having the research and then having the private practice too. The most successful PIs we know right now only do private practice to feed patients to their studies.
Yep.
The ones that are even more successful than those ones do that, and they're creating their own protocols.
Sure.
And their own IP, which is not investigational product in this context. It's intellectual property.
Right.
In the form of getting an IND from the FDA and then an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Just my little rant. This is going to be targeted mostly at physicians.
And the call when we're done with this.
And the call when we're done with this. So anything else you want to add? Good, bad, ugly? How'd you like the Michelob Ultra?
Yeah, it's okay. It's a little stronger than I like, but it's not bad.
Pure Gold Organic Light Lager.
Yeah, I saw a commercial for this just yesterday.
That's it?
That's it.
You're done.
I'm good.
Okay, too many calls today. Thank you, everybody. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye.